Curtis on his time, breaking down the stories every view will unwind. From left to right we'll see the light. It's balance we're chasing, no fighters fight. Curtis still beats, walking it straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Curtis something's here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby, keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, let's dive in deep with Curtis Selby. The combo's unique. The combo's unique. Insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby, keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, let's dive in deep with Curtis Selby. The convo's unique. Curtis Selby, talking it straight. Let's hear both sides, let's communicate. Politics and reason, let's find the truth. Curtis Selby's here to bridge it for you. Debates, insights, it's all on the screen. Curtis Selby, keeping it keen. Hit subscribe, stay a while, let's dive in deep with Curtis Selby. The combo's unique. The combo's unique. The combo's unique.
Hail and well met, and let loose the dogs of war. This is Curtis Selby, retired midnight blogger. What blogs in this case at 7:23 p.m. I'm tired as crud, but I want to talk about these tariffs. So let's begin. We'll start by saying hello to everybody in the chat. Here's this jerk on the green machine. He owes me money. Kapla, Gorilla, send your thoughts. Glory to your stream. Which stream is up to you? And Gorilla, send your thoughts, has been having an interesting night. Well, let us know about it in the chat if you would like. I know I went back to work and got through it and got home and then just crashed real hard. But I finally got up and got a stream ready. I hope it is good and worthy of your time. And howdy to Accounting Sheep. I know you were going through some trials. Got prayers going up for you, and I hope that you are doing okay. If this cheers you up, I would like you to know. And hail John Ponterero. Yeah, there was no notification because I set it up last minute. It's my bad. I'm really getting bad about setting things up last minute. So today's topic, we have a topic, and it's a good one. Honest. Trump's tariffs, stock market tremors, or midnight market magic. You be the judge. And I will be the jury and executioner. Oh, great. Yeah, YouTube's going to ding me on that one. All righty. Let's stop the music, even though it's probably the most interesting thing about my podcast right now. And Alrighty, more stuff going on. So Gorilla Sensor Thoughts is on a dating app. Hey, chicks, go check out Gorilla Sensor Thoughts. He's an upwardly mobile guy, good looking, and got the strength of a gorilla. Well, I don't know about the last part. But anyway, he messaged a couple of people nodding, expecting an answer back. Not only do they both know each other, they work and live together. Ooh, wah, wah, wah. I'm not going to talk too much about the dating app experiences that I've had. But I am going to talk about tariffs. I know that we've had some erratic movements of the stock market. Lots of people are saying lots of different things about the Trump tariffs. I don't know that I'm going to be exactly centrist on this one, but I'm going to at least try to be vaguely, because I know that tariffs are a difficult topic. It's a very delicate thing. As some of you know, I have very strong libertarian leanings, and libertarians are not big on tariffs. Just full disclosure, though, I am one of these people who thinks that if you put a tariff on us at some point, it's fair game and possibly sometimes smart to put a tariff back on you. And John Ponderera is saying we're 5x5 on Rumble. Heck yes, I am glad of that. If nothing else, I am glad of that. And for the people who are here, Gorilla Sense Thought says, screw them all. 1,000% tariffs on all. I don't know that I quite go that far, but I get the feeling, other people have tariffed us for a long time. We have subsidized other nations' lifestyles and things. We wonder, well, how's come we can't have that kind of health care over here? Is it possible? I just want to pose the question. I'm probably not going to answer it in this stream, but is it possible that the reason other countries have been able to have all these wonderful healthcare systems and things is because we've been paying for it through our taxes and tariffs? I don't know. And Gorilla Sense Thoughts wants to know what he should have for supper. I suggest you go online. You're going to see why I make such terrible decisions right now. I suggest you go online, find out what it is the highest tariffed item in your pantry, and eat that while you can. That's my thought. Or John Ponderera has a great advice. You could have mom's meal for supper. My dad was actually the better cook. All righty. So I'm going to start with some levity. So, because I think most of the people here are regulars, if I thought I had any new guests, I would be like, oh, let's start with the serious stuff. But here is something that John Ponderero shared with me, or somehow talking with him is how I came across this. Anyway, the Babylon Bee. Here are the products most affected by tariffs in each country. Trump has imposed tariffs on nearly every country on earth, leading to economic uncertainty and market panic. To ease the burden of these new taxes, countries are raising the retail cost of their exported goods. But not all products are affected equally. Here are the products that are most affected by tariffs in each country. China. The Chinese finger traps will now be $18 each and no longer possible to escape. Maniko Neko, or Lucky Cats, $350 each, crippling the Chinese restaurant industry. The next global pandemic, $19.99 plus shipping and handling. Please allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. I am sure that will help me get monetized, but I said it and I don't even regret it. Let's get back to the chat real quick, see what you guys are saying while I'm sharing this silliness. Good evening, DJ Play Nice, and I'm happy to host. Gorilla Center Thought, screw that. I ate 12 of those last week. Accounting sheet market is throwing a tantrum about the tariffs to manipulate the Fed into an emergency rate cut. Then magically Wall Street will be happy again. That does seem interesting that we seem to run our lives based off of what Wall Street decides. Maybe that's not the thing to do. But DJ Play Nice likes to remind everybody, thank you very much for doing it, because I don't probably do it enough. Give that thumbs up and share out the live. Yes, please, and thank you. General Dawn's chicken nuggets. Yeah. I just saw that. And yet another cruel blow to China. General Tso's chicken is to be renamed General Dawn's Oriental Chicky Nugs. Oh, so wrong, so bad. Japan, in the meanwhile, sushi rolls $99.99 for non-special roll. Spicy tuna will cost you extra. Nintendo Switch 2, $19 million. Taiwan, one boba tea, $49.99. That's reasonable. Thailand, this is a made-up country. Nobody's ever heard of Thailand. Thailand does not exist. We are going to change the name of Thailand to Asian America. Okay, I couldn't resist. India, Slurpees, $2.99 and climbing. Invest in Slurpees today. South Korea, no current change in product prices, but America has lost the opportunity to host the next annual Squid Games. How sad. Australia, Bluey equals canceled. Sweden, Swedish meatballs, or the meatballs as they call them in Sweden, are $48 a pound. Burk, burk, burk. IKEA's most popular coffee table, the Kvarna Pildvarg Molax, is $179.99 and will no longer come with instructions. Oreo, that's what we learn in der school. Burk, burk, burk. Germany, the party that can't be named, the Fonzie motorcycles with cool sidecars will be $20,000 in Fonzie gold. France, fancy bread shall be $7 enough. Roll, what is bread? Rude waiters, 25% mandatory tipping fee. I'm suddenly descending into a completely different accent. Ukraine, I don't know if I actually like this joke, but this is the joke that they share. Ukraine is weak. Italy, Olive Garden breadsticks will now be 25 cents each and no longer unlimited. And talking like Super Mario is priceless. Vatican City indulgences will now be $1,000 per year, purgatory, with my apologies to the Catholics in the room. The United Kingdom, Stargazy pie, $99.99 each. A Doctor Who mouse pad will now be $49.95, and the extra U in British words, tuppence a word. Canada, snow will now be $100 a bushel. Buy 2 snows, get 1 free. Nigerian princes will vote against America at the UN. What a shocking development that would be. We've never had that happen. The Democratic Republic of Congo, the censored gorillas, will now be 2 for $4.99. I had to adjust that one. South Africa, God bless the rains down in Africa. This tariff has been covered by Elon Musk. No change. Colombia, cocaine, $300 per cocaine. Nicaragua? Question mark. Mexico, as a cost-cutting measure, piñatas will now be real animals and no candy. Cuba, Baseball players up to $1.2 billion for an 8-year contract. California, fake Oscars that tourists buy will now be $100 a pop. Mikey Mouse ears, I don't know if that's a typo or if they're just trying to avoid copyright, will be $500 each, and terrible political ideas will be $1 million each. We would complete this list, but we don't know any more countries. Let us know the product you're most worried about in the comments. And by all means, let me know in the comments what products you're most worried about. I know personally, the only one I'm really worried about is coffee. I'm really worried about that because I love me some coffee. One of these days I need to get some coffee. Yes, coffee good. Hail Jeff B. And I was listening to one of my podcasts earlier because I'm trying to get back to I need like 10 more watch hours because I'm going to reapply, and I can't reapply till I get the watch hours back because I deleted some of the bad videos, which lost that watch hours. But so, if any of you wants to like listen to some stuff, to just pick a podcast or two and I'm there. But Jeff B, I was listening to one of mine earlier today and it reminded me, I believe you are in Britain. Please let me know what you think, what the British think, or what you think of all this tariff stuff going on below. Hail Fluff Chick Productions, the faithful bird woman of YouTube. Check out her other channel, of course, Connie Cleary. And, if you're having a down day, watch some of her videos with birds and soft, soothing music. Kind of zen out. Pretend like you're Maria with tea and telly and just zen for a bit. You will be glad you did. While I'm at it, I guess I will start promoting you guys instead of just simply saying hi. Gorilla Censored Thoughts, the gentleman who made my intro stream, and one of these days I need to actually get off my lazy keister and talk to him about other things. But please be sure and check out his channel. Go watch him with one of his watch parties. Listen to some of his commentary on a cigar lounge. He's good, people. I promise I haven't taken anything today. I'm just that spaced out. Connie Clear is a bit behind. Well, don't worry, because I'm a bit behind. The comment that's coming to my mind, I better not say. But anyway, I'm a bit behind as well. I'm not situated at home, but I'm glad that you are. I do feel better today, but I got to tell you, I went back to work, and when I got home, even though I didn't really work that hard today, I crashed hard. So, yeah, I still haven't worked on my stream elements. I promise I don't want to be a flake. I guess I just am. Wait a minute. Gorilla Censor Thought. Uncensor that what they say about gorillas. Well, I think they were saying something about sexy silverback gorillas or something. I don't know. Yes, gorillas, we're getting a discount on cocaine, so you can thank Trump. Now you see why I become a Trump supporter. I knew his brilliant plan would be to get discounts on cocaine. We're the greatest nation that's ever been, and we should be getting discounts on our cocaine. Nobody should get discounts on cocaine like America's get, and make America great again. I think I sound more like a demented and deranged Ronald Reagan. But anyway, CODIS Fact Search, sup. You guys are rocking it in your neck of the woods. Meanwhile, I continue to barely hold on to a job, pet my dog, and make random and probably silly podcasts. But you are very welcome, and God bless you. And I know you are one of the most informed people I know about history, so please, if you do have the time, and you may not, but if you do, please let me know in the chat what your thoughts are about tariffs. Are they good? Are they bad? I personally tend to think that there's good and bad. It kind of depends on how you use them. But let me know what your thoughts are. By Timcast. He said he won't jack up the rates. Ooh, ha ha ha. Goes Fact Search says, hey, ain't staying tired. Check the chat quickly. Honestly, the dropping of facts and absolute ignorance of most voters is, yeah, fair point. Gorilla Sinister's thoughts. Walton streams always guarantee at least one laugh, and those are on Friday. Please forgive me for not knowing your schedule very well. I should by now, but I have too many senior moments. And hello, Mikey Susan 4. Yes, I am feeling better. Thank you so much for your prayers. I know that at least a couple of you in this chat, you, John, I know you both were praying, probably some other people as well. God bless you all. Thank you so much. I'm not exactly 100%, but I'm probably about 85 to 90% better. The above comment was for you. Gotcha. I hear you. Thank you very much. You are a gentleman and a scholar. All right. I get so much wonderful chat. I know why Culture Casino does the things he does, because he also has a wonderful crowd of people. He'll spend like 2/3 of his videos just talking to people in the chat. Accounting sheep. Well, there goes the monetization hopes. Yeah, I know. They probably can't take a joke about cocaine. Jeff B. Tariffs on most countries are a smoke screen. Trump is primarily concerned about China, in Jeff's humble opinion. I tend to agree with you, but by all means, people, any opinions, as long as they're respectfully put in, are welcome here. Mike says, for tariffs, there are pros and cons with them. Honestly, I'm glad that we're re-examining their definitions and consequences. Very thoughtful comment. Thank you, Mikey Susie 4. I like that. Code's Fact Search, tariffs are necessary for some things. However, what we see is almost identical to the two essential periods before this. It works, as most things do, works for the rich and government power, never for us. Yeah. That, I suspect, I'm about 98% sure you are likely correct. China is a threat to the entire world, period. Yes, I agree. The only thing I agree with Trumpenstein. I got to modify my thing. I don't know if you can do it. Trumpenstein, America, greatest country ever. Putting on the Ritz. I don't know. I'll have to work on it. Gorilla Sense thoughts. I laughed when he upped them by 20% for disrespecting us. Mike Sousa, for the little guy suffers more from tariffs than the 1% elite rich. Yeah, it's definitely true. And again, I have my bias, I have my side, but having said that, I have few. I hope I don't have many. I'm sure I have some, but I hope I don't have many illusions. It ends up being the little guy that suffers. The libs will come on here and they'll say, and I don't mean to disrespect them, but they'll say, this is all bad, this is all stupid, this is all terrible. The point that they do have is that it's gonna be the poor who will end up suffering from the higher prices. It is true. China has always been the secret threat, right on. And Mikey, the billionaires have taken a huge hit because of them, and that is true too. That is true too. You know me, I got to be Switzerland-ish, not as Switzerland-ish as I used to be. But Coda's Fact Search, food independence. Yes, this may be. This is going to give competition for the quote of the stream. Food independence or partial independence is absolutely necessary to live and get some chickens. All food scraps can go to them. All, even meat. Raise a garden. Yes. And I I'm so slow at my movements, but I'm moving like just a little bit every day closer to it. You and our mutual friend are so much further down that road, but you know what? God bless you both, because you're the kinds of people we will need when stuff hits the fan. Okay. So I've said a few kind of silly things about the topic. We've got personality. What a personality. Trump stock market. No, that's actually me. I don't want to share my own stream. I mean, I do, but I don't. Economists. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start with what the libs are saying. This is CBS News, which I know some people will say is centrist. I disagree. I think they're maybe a little bit less left and maybe a little bit less crazy than, I don't know, Karl Marx. I don't know. So anyway, they're saying economist says life will never be the same after Trump tariffs. Let's listen to a little bit of what he has to say. Frankly, I haven't listened to it. I literally got home and crashed. But let's see what this dapper young fellow has to say about tariffs.
No other president would be willing to do what I'm doing or to even go through it. Now, I don't mind going through it because I see a beautiful picture at the end.
A beautiful picture at the end. For more on what that picture might in fact look like, I want to bring in Justin Wolfers. He is a professor of public policy and economics at the University of Michigan. It's great to have you with us. Justice, you wrote an op-ed for the New York Times.
Okay, I do want to interject something. At least it's not Robert Reich, and at least it's someone who teaches economics. So that is an improvement. All right, sorry. Let that economist person who teaches at Ann Arbor, yeah.
You know what it says, but my audience does it, so let me go through it a little bit. Quote, your life will never be the same after these tariffs. You wrote also, these tariffs are going to hurt a lot. By my calculations, this round of tariffs may be 50 times as painful as the ones Donald Trump instituted in his first term. Simple question, why?
Yeah, so this is not just bluster. This is actually what basic economics tells us. Look, there's two.
This is not bluster. This is what basic economics tells us. This is already better than Robert Reich's rants. Just right there. He's already killing it. Sorry. Mikey Sousa 4, CODIS is endorsing more agriculture, less industry. I can see that. I don't know that he's endorsing. I mean, I don't mean to speak for him, but I think he's just endorsing us in our personal lives, relying less on government, on corporations, things like that. And CODIS Fact says we all do what we can. Yep. Oh, yes. CODIS Fact Search makes a great point. Now he's speaking for himself there. So I like industry, but I like eating too. CODIS Fact Search, all current mainstream media is left-leaning. Our definition has changed over the last 40 years. Indeed. And we have Jason Jones in the house. Rock on, sir. He is telling us agriculture is different than manufacturing. We're dependent on soil, climate, seasons. We can't just relocate farms as easily. Yeah, 100% true. Welcoming Jason and Truth on You. Yes, Jason, Truth on You. I don't know what that was all about. Don't mind me. CODIS Fact Search. Yes, exactly. I'm endorsing less reliance on any government. We don't need them. I'm certain there are people in the chat who will disagree with that. Having said that, I agree with you. I think that they've gone from being a necessary evil to just being a straight out and out evil. But Jason's well said, and so he is. And having said that, also, Jason Jones looks even better than this Justin Wolfers, and I don't hate him even a little bit for that. Okay.
Two things that tariff.
Life is never going to be the same. I have a sweet British accent and wavy hair that the women will love. And economics.
Do. The higher tariffs are, the less we trade with others. That, of course, means that, you know, the car you wanted to buy, you make do with something else. And then the higher tariffs get, the more you end up making do with worse and worse substitutes. The net result of that is a pretty basic.
I'll just leave it, but I just wonder what you guys noticed from this chart. I'm not going to make a comment on it right now because it'll be a can of worms. But let me know in the chat if there's something about these numbers that just makes you go,
economic idea, which is small tariffs aren't much of a problem, but big tariffs can cause enormous pain.
Pig tariffs can cause enormous pain. If we put high tariffs on pigs, then there will be less bacon, and then you will end up like Britain, and you will be very sad.
And if you simply work through the math of this, it turns out that this set of tariffs will be 50 times more painful than the last set. And that's because this time it's much, much higher tariffs, and it applies to every country and every good. Every part of your life is about to change.
And Justin.
All right. So every part of your life is about to change. My question to you guys, and how bad did the tariffs put on in the first term make your life? Be honest. Let me know in the chat. How bad did you notice? And some of you probably did notice something, because I know my life got profoundly better. Now, mainly that was because I left my ex-wife. So like my life's improvement has had little to nothing to do with anything the government's done. Referencing back to Coda's fact search point, it's basically been me making better decisions and the help of some very wonderful friends. And it's not been the government. The government has helped me jack and squat in I would say the last, I don't think have gotten help from the government since I was 17. So I'm just putting it out there that I've gone through a hell of a lot of stuff. Government's not been helpful. Coda's fact search, if you give me one academic who doesn't support modern financial approaches, I will vote again. Bring back Rothbard. Interesting. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to do that, Coda's fact search, but yeah, heck, I would just be happy if people would read more von Mises. Mikey Sousa 4, I'm willing to bet this economist does put some of his students to sleep. I also think he has an ASMR channel out there, putting you to sleep with my British economics, which might be the smarter idea. Instead of doing this stuff, I should probably do something like that. Coda's fact search, it's interesting to me that economists on TV always talk about luxuries. Do you notice that, or toilet paper? Yep. Good point. Accounting sheet, 50 times worse. Please share the math supporting this, Mr. Professor. And I could be wrong, but I'll bet he does not. People saying hello to each other. Love this community. Coda's fact search, did not notice a single bit. I don't buy luxuries. The only thing I would say, I've got one streaming channel and I've got my books, which you and I both don't think of them as luxuries, but I'm sure some people do. Score! Gorilla Censored Thought says, pork loin, $1.99 a pound. Grab 10 pounds on, lobster tails for $4.50 each, and 3 for $4 crab meat packs. Holy crap. Let me know where that is. I may have to come up there and do some shopping. Codis Fact Search, lobster tails are going to continue to go up simply because they're lobster tails. Currently are going less. They're birthing less babies and having less adults. Let's check it out. Yeah. That is also a brutal truth. All right, back to British ASMR professor and how he's training us in economics.
When the president says, and his economic advisors speaking on his behalf also say, we simply want countries that trade with us to buy as much of our goods as we buy of theirs. Is that practical?
No. Look, it's about as practical as me saying that I wish that Trader Joe's would buy as much of my stuff as I buy of theirs. I go to the grocery store. I spend a lot of money there. I do so willingly because I can use what I get for that money, food, to feed and nourish my family. But Trader Joe's and I don't have balanced trade the same way China and the United States don't have balanced trade.
Does anyone else see the fallacy in that logic? Gorilla Sense Thoughts. Curtis, you know where I live? Yeah, I'm actually joking. I don't want to come up there. No offense. I would love to maybe visit someday, but I don't want to live up there. Too cold for me. Mikey Susie 4 fallacy, more like fantasy, brothers. Okay. I'm pretty sure you all already see the fantasy, but so the United States, the biggest economy that the planet has ever seen, is compared to a normal person shopping in Trader Joe's, what the actual crap. A better analogy would be Trader Joe's working with its vendors or working with its suppliers. This analogy is complete crap, and a sophomore in macro econ should be able to see through this guy. I mean, unless everything that he says from this point on is brilliant, I've already written him off as an idiot. Because, okay, let me put it another way. My professor used to say that when you've got the spiffy curves, I've forgotten what they're called. You got the spiffy curves and you can only produce so many goods. And so they put on the curves that there's guns and butter. If you produce more guns, you have to produce less butter. If you produce more butter, you have to produce less guns. He always said that these were Marxist professors that would point this out. They weren't necessarily wrong, but they were Marxist. Those Marxist professors are intelligent to a profound degree compared to this guy from what I'm seeing right now. Granted, he's only said 2 sentences and we shouldn't be judgmental, but it's my podcast and I'll do what I want to. Codis Fact Search. I did talk to the text. I'm sorry. Accounting sheet, bad idea to pretend this doesn't affect normal people. Guess who owns a bunch of stocks? Insurance companies. Guess who's going to be paying lots more if the stock market tanks? You. Yes, that is true. Jeff B., are there any famous British economists? I'm sure there are, but it's not coming to mind. The ones that I know that I like are either American or German, sadly. I'm not, even though I probably quote him more than the others, sadly. I'm not a fan of Karl Marx, but I got to admit that I think he needs to be read. I think he needs to be thought about, but I also think that he has to be judged in the context of the history of countries that have used his ideas. 100% truth, saith Mikey Susie 4 to Counting Sheep. Codis Fact Search is it really only affects the poor. And I believe I did say that earlier. You did indeed, and well done. Accounting Sheep, the best economist, was Scottish. I think this guy is Australian. Oh, he's an Aussie. That's not an economic principle. This is an economic principle. A degree in general business says this guy needs to re-examine his research. Yeah, no, I mean that, and not to be mocking toward you. All I'm saying is this guy's a professor. You and I shouldn't be able to see through him. If that makes any sense. And I'm not meaning to be mocking to you, because I don't have any more, or, I don't have any more knowledge in it than you do, but we can both see through this. Smith? No, I don't mean Smith. Codis Fact Search, by the way, great economist, but the best. Oh, good Lord. I'm going to just reveal my ignorance and say that my favorite, he may not be the best, but my favorite is von Mises. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Yes, Keynes was a somewhat prophetic British economist. Yeah, and some people would say that he was great. The left loves to pervert his philosophies and take them to an extreme, and then, say, well, this is what Keynes told us to do, when it's not what he told you to do. It's just how you misinterpreted it. But anyway, yes, there was Smith, but Accounting Sheep was being playful. Yes. Codis Fact Search, Freeman and Rothbard all day long. I need to read them. Codis Fact Search, like Sheep. Sheep is a brilliant guy. He may have an unfortunate love of chicken, but he's a great guy. Gorilla Sensor Thoughts. Well, why are insurance companies putting money in a high-risk market? Because they are supposed to have money to pay out. That's what it's for. Codis Fact Search. How did Scotsman find the sheep in the tall grass? Jeff B. Keynes was a Brit. Yes. Codis Fact Search. British means all isles and protectorates. By the way, English? Screw the English. Very satisfying. And hello, Resolute Germ, another wonderful creator here. I don't know if I'm promoting you creators very well today. Please check this gentleman out. He makes some wonderful watch parties of cartoons and some other things. Check him out. And while we're at it, I have not yet promoted my brother, Mikey Susie 4. He makes some wonderful reviews of old television shows and often is a guest on Gorilla's Censored Thoughts Cigar Lounge. So please check that gentleman out. Jeff B. agreed, Codis. We Works did that pretty well. We Yanks did that pretty well. Codis Fact Search. I am Clan Gun. We were forcibly removed during the clearances. Accounting Sheep. Assurance companies own lots of stuff. Also pension funds. Easier to pay the liabilities when the market gains pay for most of it. Yeah, fair point. I love this. Jason Jones. If we can buy components, ores, etc., then it doesn't matter if we have an imbalance. I can use those groceries to not eat out and save money, or even to make meals I can sell and make a profit. Yeah, I mean, that's a point. And I know that's one of the arguments is if you have certain circumstances, then a mild imbalance doesn't matter. The question is, have we gotten too far? Is the imbalance too much? Counting Sheep. I know I've heard that sheep joke, but I forgot the punchline. The only punchline I remember from any sheep joke, and I bet only Jason gets this one, is the sheep lie. Jason Jones is not necessarily the trade imbalance per country, but the total net. And that is true too. All right, let's get back to what this trippy young man has to say. If he doesn't have something pretty intelligent to say soon, though, I'm going to personally lose interest quickly. Let's see what he says.
I turn up to Trader Joe's. I offer to sell them economics lectures, but it turns out they don't want to buy what it is I'm selling. Now, it doesn't create any economic problems because the University of Michigan is willing to buy what I'm selling. So overall, Justin Wolfers Inc. is doing just fine. And the same logic goes for the United States. Overall, the US gets a pretty good deal out of international trade. We buy some stuff, we sell some stuff, and all of our lives are enriched because we get plugged into the enormous variety of wonderful products that people all around the world make for us and with us.
All right. He almost has a point. Let me know in the chat what you guys think. Because he almost made a point, I'm going to give him enough patience to play just a little bit more. Yeah.
If Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, were here, Justin, he might say, okay, let's take your example. Justin Wolferzine goes into Trader Joe's, but Trader Joe's, if it's China, uses hackers to steal information from your iPhone. That's intellectual property. It manipulates its currency, which makes your dollar go less far than it otherwise would. And it subsidizes its products in ways you can't for your incorporation. They say all of those things underlie an unfair trade relationship. How do you respond to that?
Did I just hear a reporter almost giving an actual, instead of a mocking description of what the opposition says? Have I finally lost my mind? Is this what it feels like? This is what it feels like, isn't it? To go insane. Let's see what Jason says. Let's just say sheep exaggerate. Good fact search. Y'all here, feel free to grab my deets via signal from Mr. Tired himself. I got to blow this pop stand. Right on. Counting sheep, I've just looked him up. My professor is a Harvard boy. That explains it. All right. So, Mike Susie 4, I think the interviewer out-thought the Economist. He did. Heck, I may need to watch this reporter more often. A reporter that has either has some intelligence or was actually given good lines. Wow. Harvard used to mean something the founders would be flipping into what is called education. Now that is so true. That is so true. What is his answer? China steals our stuff, hacks our stuff, and is powerful enough to manipulate currency in a way that, frankly, only America can do better than. You know. Let's see what what Mr. Economist has to say about it. Hopefully it's something a little better than just Orange Man bad.
Well, I think when you tried to make his story make sense, it sounded utterly absurd. Look, there are serious trading issues. There are, for instance, big questions about intellectual property theft from China. If that's the question you want to solve, then what you need to do is think about tariffs and reaching out to the Chinese on the specific set of strategic goods. It doesn't tell you that you want to put tariffs on Australia, tariffs on Madagascar, tariffs on India, tariffs on the whole world. If what you have is strategic goals, you have strategic tariffs. What we have is across the board tariffs, which appear to have no real rationale at all.
It sounds to me like he just contradicted himself. Tariffs are bad, tariffs are bad, tariffs are bad. But oh yeah, wait, tariffs can sometimes be good as long as they're strategically done. But Trump is doing this all across the board. Okay. I hope you all are okay. I've lost patience with this guy because it just seems like some double speak to me. Let me know if you guys want to hear from him soon, but I'm about to move on to the next thing. Too late, Krogodus, 360 degrees. Right on, right on. Okay, I've had enough of this Aussie. I actually like the reporter better than him. It's been a long time since I've been able to say that about a left-wing reporter. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that, but I just assume he's on CBS News. The odds of him being a conservative, if you believe Elon Musk, is 1 in 50. So, probably not. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's wrong, but it just means that I'm kind of losing patience with a lot of these people. Mikey Susie 4, China as a trading partner at best has mediocre products. It's not a rich endorsement to me in trading further with them. Accounting sheep, I don't completely disagree about. No, I actually completely agree with his strategic tariffs comment. I just think that he's giving a disingenuous judgment here because, look, let me put it this way. I'm going to put it this way by sharing what Victor Davis Hanson has been saying. I've been loving the things he's been saying more and more, partly because he's bald, partly because he's a farmer and yet an intellectual, and partly because anyone that's got three names is just really cool. All right, let's see what he has to say about Trump and his tariffs. Okay. First of all, to put it into a little bit of context, obviously you have what that gentleman said, but you also have the context of both the left and the right are constantly referring back to the I'm having another senior moment, but the something or other smoot thing that happened in the 30s. Basically, we were trying to make money. The United States was trying to make money during the Great Depression. We put out this great big blanket tariff thing to earn more money, and it just completely failed. We end up making less money instead of more. We made a lot of countries mad at us, and the left especially, but even the right, and especially libertarians. And again, I lean libertarian, so it may be that I'm being disingenuous here, but that Smooty Act more or less helped to demonstrate that tariffs, other things being, ceteris paribus, tariffs are bad. But I like what Victor David Hanson has to say about that.
So whatever your outlet is, come join us there.
Hey, we are
Went through
coming to
the Great
join you.
Depression, perfect week for it since Donald Trump rolled out all his tariffs. So I'm looking forward to your assessment of the insignificance of the Great Depression to our history. So go ahead.
It's still debated. The Great Depression was that period, everybody, from Black Tuesday, the collapse of the American stock market in 1929, all the way through 1939, where you finally had steady increase in GDP and lower unemployment. It really didn't happen, though, until 1941. And you should remember that we had about 18% unemployment with the second mini depression of 1938, 39. So the question is, why did this booming economy in the post-World War I era, the roaring 20s that we call it, why did it suddenly collapse?
All right. Now I want to pause it here because even though I had had these thoughts before, and I believe Codis Fact Search had actually talked with me a little bit about what he's about to say, it didn't really hit me the truth that he's about to reveal until he said it right here. And hello there, Sci-Fi Sith Dan, another wonderful creator. Check this gentleman out. He's got some wonderful fan films. I also haven't promoted you yet, Accounting Sheep, another wonderful person. He does incredible, fun parody videos. They are so fun. Check those out. And Codis Fact Search, I think you're getting back to where you want to actually be promoted. So please check his stuff out. And if we can coax him into making more stuff, we will be glad we did. He's so intelligent, so well informed, and I'm just honored that he comes and talks to us. So, Victor Davis Hanson on what caused the Great Depression, or one of the biggest factor, according to him. There was a lot of things that helped cause it, but
it's very interesting. It's relevant now because we're talking about tariffs, and there was a huge tariff.
The Smoot-Hawley Act. I can never remember Hawley. I can only remember Smoot. Smoot. It's a really cool name for a bill.
The Smoot-Hawley Act of 1930. But we noticed something. The stock market collapsed in 1929, not 1930, and that didn't get really going to 1931. As I said earlier to Sammy, Milton Friedman.
In 1929, I sold short, and my name's bandied about in court. But I'm so downhearted 'cause I can't get started with you.
Never thought, as most economists don't think that the tariffs were the main contribution. So, what caused this panic? One of the problems was that the stock market was not regulated, and there was this boom, and the actual productive capacity and profits in real dollars of companies that were highly valued and through speculation, they were not earning the types of returns that justified the market, and people started to see that. Now, why did they? What were the structural things that were happening in the 1920s? Horses. I think my grandfather told me that he stopped using horses in the early 20s on this ranch. But his point was half of his 135 acres was devoted to pasture to feed the so-called human tractors. Once he got, I think his first tractor was a Fordson, I think they called it, and he
My granddad's first tractor was a Ford. This is another thing that I love about this guy. He goes off on these tangents, but he's talking about farming stuff, and I actually know what he's talking about because I grew up on a farm. And it's just wonderful because a lot of these Harvard elites, they've never had crap on their boots, and it makes it a little difficult to respect them. This guy has had crap on his boots.
he went to heaven when they made the Model 9, 8. It was called a 9N. It didn't have overhead valves, but it did have a PTO shaft. My point is that once that happened, he brought all of his land in production. And that happened all over the United States. So, and it happened in industry too, with electrification. So when you started to get mass electrification in the 20s, at the end of World War I, you started to get enormous increases in assembly line production, and you started to get enormous increases in food production because you almost got a 40% increase in arable land because it wasn't being used to create the power to cultivate. That was now replaced by the internal combustion engine. So you were creating a lot of product. At the same time, there was this Ponzi scheme where the Versailles Treaty said that Germans had to pay reparations.
Okay, now I know he's going a long. He's kind of like me. He's going a long way about to explain it, but he's setting up the thing. We've got explosive increases in production, which, by the way, means there's, in theory, at any rate, explosive increases in goods and services, in money. But then there's this other thing that's going on over here. What is he about to say? Mikey Susie 4, my mom grew things on her property, as did her sister's mother. We need to go back into rudimentary agricultural type products and become better. Yeah, I think all of us could. And I'm preaching to the choir. I'm not just preaching to the choir, but I'm preaching to myself here too. I am looking into getting some very simple gardening things. I'm not going to go too crazy because if I do, I'll just kill a bunch of plants. But I think it would be great to not be relying on the grocery store for all of my vegetables, and just to be even mildly more self-reliant.
The Weimar government was under pressure, so it was almost the equivalent of about $500 billion today, and they were supposed to be paid in gold, or at least marks that were backed by sufficient gold reserves. And they quickly started to inflate the currencies to pay back France and Britain, but primarily France. So the German economy then suffered hyperinflation, started to tank. The Allies, who had borrowed billions of dollars from us in 1914, 1915, 1916, were not able to pay us back. So what we did, partly rectified and exacerbated under the Dawes Plan, we started loaning massive billions of dollars of outflows to Germany so Germany could pay France and Britain so they could pay us back our reparations. And what we were doing is we were putting investment into the German economy that wasn't creating goods and services or new factories or new jobs. And we were doing the same thing. They were paying Britain reparations, and they were not really using that to rectify the losses they had or convert their factories into productive pieces. They were.
I'm going to make a completely tangential statement here. And heck yes, Jeff B, make the Victory Garden great again. Heck yes. There is one thing with apologies to you, CODIS Fact Search, if you're still listening. There are not many things, but there is one thing that I agree with Karl Marx about. And this is where sometimes the better educated and more thoughtful liberals can have a point. Capitalism is wonderful. It's great when it's based off of the buying and selling of goods and services. When it's about weird speculative like not investments, but like just gaming the system, ways of gaming the system. When it's a bunch of money that's all on paper, it's some stocks, but they're, like Victor Hansen just said, that are overvalued. This is where the way we do capitalism can fall apart and can badly fall apart. I don't mean to completely, because he actually says it better than I do, but if somehow we were getting some goods and services from Germany at this time, that would have at least mitigated some of the blow. But all it really was this weird money game where we're just going to print some money, because that, we'd started to do that back in 1913 with the Fed. We're just going to print some money. We're going to give you some of it just for reasons. And you're going to give that money back to Britain and France, and then Britain and France are going to give that money back to us. When you really look at the true economic works of it, nothing was really happening. No one was getting any food in their mouths. No one was getting any cars, sent to them or built. It was just a weird, like he says, a Ponzi scheme. That's why they call it a Ponzi scheme. That's the difference between a Ponzi scheme and an actual business. And that, I think, is one of the things that big corporations are doing way too much of today. They manipulate the books, they cook them, they reinterpret them. You really need to look into what Jack Welch did at GE. Don't get me wrong, he also did some brilliant and very intelligent things, but he did some ruthless and shady things when it came to the books. And at some point, you've got to pay the piper. That money is really only good for wiping your butt if someone's not being fed, someone's not getting gas in their car. Something has to be making someone's life better, or it stops working. So let's see what else he has to say here.
Were paying us. So this money was coming in, and the stock market was going crazy. And they looked at increased. I mean, wouldn't you want to have a booming stock market and start speculating when all of a sudden there's billions of dollars coming in on borrowed money from the French and the British to pay us what they had borrowed at the early years? And then all of a sudden you look at agriculture and manufacturing, and they're producing all this goods and services. And once the stock market started to collapse, and big time, and then people's banks started to fail, people started to hoard money. I mean, 1 out of every 5 banks failed. And so they took money out of circulation. And then people, at the moment they had this enormous productive increase in the 20s, there was no purchasing power because everybody was freaked out. They started taking their money out of the bank. The stocks were wiped out because of the dramatic thing. The British couldn't pay us back. The French couldn't pay us back, and it was a monetary problem. So, and we were on the gold standard, and the gold standard's fine if you're in prosperity, but when you have no money, you need to increase the supply of money, and that was contrary to classical economics. Keynes was right for a brief period that you needed to increase the money supply because there was billions of US dollars that were in people's socks under their mattress. They were just terrified to spend it because they didn't know if they'd have a job and they didn't want to put it in the stock market and they didn't trust the bank. So what do? You take it out of circulation and you pile it. Not that they hadn't that much money. And then the debts were called in. The more the debts were called in, the more you took people 25% unemployment. It was just a circular. And then in 1933, after the third year of this, getting into the fourth, we get the New Deal. And what did the New Deal do? It started to regulate the economy. And
now, again, here's where we get into a slippery slope. You know, by and large, I'm not for regulating an economy, but at the same time, what do you do when you have some disastrous stuff going on like this? And it's like the poem If, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, you have to, it's one of the things that I'm trying to encourage you guys to do is please don't panic with everyone else that's panicking. Don't do what they are doing. Like I didn't do it myself, but I really think that Monday was the day to buy stocks. They're not so overvalued. They're almost where they need to actually be. Mikey Susie 4 sounds like a vicious business trader cycle that eventually led to a current debt crisis. We robbed Peter to pay Paul. Indeed, John Ponerera. It's only in the last 2 years that I haven't had a pretty big garden. I'm going to get back to this year. Well done. Excellent. And all money is just on paper. Yeah. Or anymore, it's in ones and zeros. That's talk for another day. Mike Susie 4, good thought there, John. John Ponerera, mainly grown tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, string beans, herbs, and a few others just to see if I could grow them. Mike Susie 4 wants to know, what were your overall results? And John's response, really good. The garden was a big project of my mom and dad. As they got older, I started helping them with it. So I learned from people that knew what they were doing. I wish I had. I didn't learn squat. I did learn that mosquitoes like to go to someone who's not smoking to bite the crap out of them. That's really all I learned from my parents about gardening. Mikey Susie 4, that's a good backup plan for sure. All right. So does he ever get to, I know he gets to actually talking about the current tariffs.
And it's the National Recovery Act, which was declared unconstitutional, the Agricultural Adjustment Act. They started to make work civilian. Some of it was good, but it wasn't market-based. The government is not as wise as the market. And they started restricting profit-making and controlling the economy. At this time, by 1935 and 6, we had some increases in GDP. But when you look at the other countries, and this is the irony about it, the totalitarian, fascist, horrific countries like Japan, like Germany, like Italy were command economies. And one of the things that, and remember, they had the word socialism, national socialism. Italian fascism was a socialist concept. Same thing with the Japanese militarists. So what they started to do were massive public works program, trains, train stations, public buildings in Germany and Italy, autobahns. And then Japan started building huge port facilities, and they started to rearm, and they started to expand their market economies by expanding their monetary base. And it had to be paid back, but for that period, it was stimulus. We didn't do that. And that cycle of too much production, too little money in circulation, 25%. It just kept going and going. And no matter what Roosevelt did, he made it worse because he kept trying to control the natural yin and yang of the market, which would have adjusted. And so by 1938, we had about 17% unemployment, 18%. I think in some states it was up to 20%. And then he said something quite unique. He said, we're going to have Dr. War and not Dr. New Deal get us out of this. So then we went up, suddenly printed money up to 123%, 130%, bigger than now, 140% of GDP. So a country that could not afford an army the size of Portugal in 4 years was equipping people, 12.2 million people in uniform. And when they went,
Yeah, this is something that's forgotten. We had a very tiny military when World War II began, and that is a fact. Portugal had a bigger armed force than we did. Yeah, we had that crazy, amazing fleet in the Pacific. We didn't really have a lot else at the time. That's one of the reasons why it was such a big blow. Pearl Harbor basically took out a really sizable chunk of what real military we had.
overseas, people could not believe it. The Australians or the British would say, oh my gosh, those Americans have the most beautiful uniforms. They have chocolate bars. They have Lucky Strikes. They have Camel cigarettes. They have condoms. They have everything. And we don't have anything. So it was a massive, and then everybody said when the war was over, the music would cut out and we'd be back in the Depression. It didn't happen because we kept expanding production and we changed over from war production and then the Cold War, and we stayed in them. But it was preventable had the Federal Reserve loosened up on the money supply. I don't know if it would have been wise to suddenly get off the gold standard. We did it eventually, but to start to nurse ourselves off it and allow money not to be all money connected with the amount of gold we had. I mean, it's an inflationary process we have today, but the main problem was coming out of World War I with these payments that were just circulating between the defeated Germans and Austrians, the reparations that were not going to them, they were being paid off in funny money.
Okay, so to make the long story short, we're hearing a lot of stuff about how these tariffs just destroyed the world and caused the Depression. They didn't. They were, frankly, a pretty minor factor. There was a ton of stuff going on, but tariffs, while they were not a good idea at the time, tariffs were not what was doing it. I want to share. I'm going to share one last thing with Mark Davis Hansen, and then if I have time, I'll share some pointless things I've seen on X, and if not, I'll call it a stream because I want to let you guys go in about 10 or 20 minutes here. So,
autopilot ceases and the automatic tariff.
Okay.
April 3rd, Donald Trump announced it as Liberation Day. By that, he meant we were going to be liberated from asymmetrical tariffs of the last 50 years. And it was going to inaugurate a new, what he called, golden age of trade parity. And yet the world seemed to erupt in anger. It was very strange, which brings up another question. Are our tariffs really tariffs? That is, were they preemptive? Were they punitive? No, they're almost...
See, and he didn't say it there. I didn't have it. I can't remember where in the previous video he says it, but he does say it. But that's the other big difference between the Smoot-Badudu Act and what's going on now. Nobody was tariffing us that much at the time. And we decided, well, we're not making any money, so let's tariff the crap out of people. And nobody had the money to pay them at that time. And so, yeah, it just brought the world down. LDG Free the Net. Hey, welcome, welcome. He's on the road listening. I hope you are doing well. And please visit this young gentleman here. He is developing an app that will free the net from the big corporations. Mike Sousa, for the government is not as wise as the market. I think that statement is very profound and a scary truth. Yeah. And can I turn up the player? Yeah. Sorry. Thank you for letting me know. I did have it down. Okay. Let me know if that's good or bad.
Leveled on autopilot. Whatever a particular country tariffs us, we reciprocate and just mirror image them. In other words, it's their choice, not ours.
Gonna skip ahead a bit.
Tariffs. So does Vietnam. So does Mexico. So does Europe. So do a lot of countries. So does India. But if tariffs are so destructive of their economies, why is China booming? How did India become an economic powerhouse when it has these exorbitant tariffs on American imports? How did Vietnam, of all places, become such a different country, even though it has these prohibitive tariffs? Why isn't Germany, before its energy problems, why wasn't it a wreck? It's got tariffs on almost everything that we send them. How is the EU even functioning with these tariffs? I thought tariffs destroyed an economy, but they seem to like them. And they're angry that they're no longer asymmetrical. Apparently, our people who are tariffing us think tariffs improve their economy.
I want to interject a comment here. This is just basic psychology, but I have noticed that people who treat you in a way that is not great will just fly off the handle if you treat them the same way they are treating you. Just making an observation.
Maybe they're right. I don't know. The second thing is, why would you get angry at the person who is reacting to the asymmetrical tariff and not the people who inaugurated the tariff? Why is Canada mad at us when it's running a $63 billion surplus and it has tariffs on some American products at 250%? Doesn't it?
Again, I haven't been able to verify this, so I've only recently been willing to share it, but I have heard that Canada's got a 200% tariff on our milk. With respect and love to the Canadians in the chat, because it's not your fault. You're not the ones doing it. What the heck is that? I mean, it does make me think, well, why wouldn't we return a tariff on something of Canada's if they're tariffing our milk at 200%?
It seemed like the people who started this asymmetrical, if I could use the word trade war, should be the culpable people, not the people who are reluctantly reacting to it. Sort of like Ukraine and Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine. Do we blame Ukraine for defending itself and trying to reciprocate? No, we don't. We don't blame America because it finally woke up and said, whatever they tariff us, we're going to tariff them. Which brings up another question. Are our tariffs really tariffs? That is, were they preemptive? Were they leveled against countries that had no tariffs against us? Were they punitive? No. They're almost leveled on autopilot. Whatever a particular country tariffs us, we reciprocate and just mirror image them. And they go off anytime that country says, it was a mistake. We're sorry. You're an ally. You're a neutral. We're not going to tariff this America.
And again, at the risk of sounding too pro-Trump, he campaigned on it. He's been the president for several months. He's been saying he's going to do it. Why then is he the bad guy when he does it? And all of a sudden, and he says this later, but I'm going to skip on because I got one more thing that I want to share before the stream ends. But if nothing else, and maybe it wasn't him. It might have been on the House hearing on Trump's. He has an ambassador. I thought about sharing some of that stuff, but I won't have time for it. If nothing else, it was good that the American people learned, hey, these people are tariffing us this much. What the heck? I thought we were friends. I thought we were allies. I thought we were in this game together. I thought we were in this game to help each other. And I'm going to go ahead and share the last thing that I wanted to share. I know at least Jason will know once this pops up where I'm going with this. That's if I can have the senior moment end. I hate when I have these. Okay. There it is. There it is. That was Ross Perot. Okay. This will be quick. Although I may just play the 2-minute version because I like the guy. And something that has also bothered me, you know, I've been talking about how I've gone on a journey from where I was to where I'm at. Some of the people that I've talked to that have worried me were people that were really strongly for Ross Perot, who is the person I'm about to share with you. And now it's like everything that he taught us, that's all been forgotten. All right.
And I think the first question is over here.
Yes, I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Perot. What will you do as president to open foreign markets to fair competition from American business and here at home from foreign countries so that we can bring jobs back to the United States?
That's right at the top of my agenda. We've shipped millions of jobs overseas, and we have a strange situation because we have a process in Washington where after you've served for a while, you cash in, become a foreign lobbyist, make $30,000 a month, then take a leave, work on presidential campaigns, make sure you got good contacts, and then go back out. Now, if you just want to get down to brass tacks, first thing you ought to do is get all these folks who've got these one-way trade agreements that we've negotiated over the years and say, fellas, we'll take the same deal we gave you.
Does that sound familiar? All these trade agreements, we'll give you the same deal we gave you. He's surrounded by two great American heroes here, George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton. I'm going to say no more about that. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. John Ponerero is saying dairy. Resolute Germ is saying that that's almost at 300%. Mikey Souza 4 is correct here, I believe. Business in general should never be stuck in one-sided argument. Yeah, and that's one of the things, again, I want to be very careful, and I'm probably failing, but I really don't want this channel to become an echo chamber because you're exactly right. When you just get into that dogma, that's when you start to, you make mistakes, you don't see things coming, you alienate people. There's just 100 different reasons why you have to at least try not to be in an echo chamber. Mark Malikoff, Kapla, hail and well met, a Klingon of great honor and glory. This man was the weapons master on the incredible film, or the incredible play. I'm having another senior moment, but it's basically the Klingon Christmas Carol. Wonderful play. Kapla, Klingons don't need tariffs. Screw, piss off. The Klingon Empire, we simply conquer your planet and take it all. Kapla. Yes. And now YouTube will think I'm threatening people. Right on, Mark. But then the Q continuum can snap away on us in a heartbeat. So there's that. Yeah, Infinite power. That's something to think about. Gorilla Sense of Thoughts. I heard the funniest joke today. Chuck Erection Schumer is calling on Trump to be investigated for insider trading. I want him to do this so we can do it back. I would love for Chuck Schumer to be investigated for insider trading. I really would. And you got to understand, I think when it comes to Trump, I would actually be okay that some of these things have happened to him if they were happening back. In other words, if Pelosi or Schumer or somebody was being investigated to the same degree, to the same extent, and it burns my tail that it does not happen to the same degree. Everyone's saying kapla to each other. John Poterero Schiff was saying that too. Let's go back to Ross Perot, what he said back in the day.
And they'll gridlock right at that point because, for example, we've got international competitors who simply could not unload their cars off the ships if they had to comply. You see, if it was a two-way street, just couldn't do it. We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can.
And back then, $15 an hour was real money. That's more like using the rule of 18. That would be more like I'm going to round it off roughly. It's more like $70 an hour now. It's really, really good money.
You can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25. That's assuming you've been in business for a long time. You've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor. Have no health care. That's the most expensive single element in making a car. Have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement. And you don't care about anything but making money. There will be a giant sucking sound going south. So if the people send me to Washington, the first thing I'll do.
And there's brilliant Clinton right there. That's a brilliant idea. Thanks for telling me that, Ross Perot. That's exactly what we're going to do to America. Mark Malnikoff, I wish to share some blood wine, vintage 2167. Mark Malnikoff, funny, I heard on the radio that some Chinese ships were going to toss their cargo in the sea because of the tariffs Trump placed. Oh, the Chinese Tea Party. Excellent. Maybe they will get some independence. Mikey Susie 4, I left the working world back in 2017 making $15 an hour. Yeah, $15 an hour was a lot less in 2017, I'm going to tell you. But it was pretty decent money back in 92. It was at least something to earn, but then it was barely enough to survive on. I remember I was making minimum wage in 92. It was $3 something an hour. I want to say it was like $3.85, $3.95. As a single man, if I hadn't had college expenses, I could have survived on it, but just barely. It would have been ramen noodles pretty much every day. I had good friends, and I also had Pell Grants at the time. So anyway, accounting sheep, sadly, he lost. We got Clinton. And then there was a completely different kind of giant sucking sound. Indeed. All right. So the last part, and he's starting there, but this last part is the part that I really want to drive home.
We study that 2,000-page agreement and make sure it's a two-way street. One last point here. I decided I was dumb and didn't understand it, so I called a who's who of the folks who've been around it. And I said, why won't everybody go south? They said, we'll be disruptive. I said, for how long? I finally got them up for 12 to 15 years. And I said, well, how does it stop being disruptive? And that is when their jobs come up from $1 an hour to $6 an hour and ours go down to $6 an hour, then it's leveled again. But in the meantime, you've wrecked the country with these kinds of deals. We've got to cut it out.
Thank you, Mr. Perot.
Isn't that exactly what's happened? We basically just lost a crud ton of good jobs. And the thing is, I don't think Mexico's come up to $6 an hour. I don't think China has come up to $6 an hour. I think all that this was a brilliant way for the haves to make sure that the have-nots never climb out of poverty again. America was doing it. We were paying people a reasonable wage. That had to stop. So we made sure that we were either going to get George W. Bush or Clinton. The Uniparty's been doing that for at least 100 years now, or close to it, to make sure that the candidate that they want is going to get in there no matter what. Trump was the first person in nearly 100 years that was not. I know some people disagree with me, but I think he was not the choice of the Uniparty. I think that's why there's been so much resistance to him. Now, maybe he is doing the wrong thing, but he's doing exactly what Ross Perot said he would do back in 92. So what's changed? Why are people that used to be so strongly for this gentleman, and I still am, now saying that basically everything that he said, they don't realize that they're thinking that it's things he said, but we're now denigrating all of that common sense, and we're sticking up for the Clintons and the Bushes and the Obamas and all the people that are basically part of the scam. All right, I need to call it a stream. I need to let you guys go because I want y'all to either go to Netters, or I believe probably that Gorillas has a stream going on today. So, and it's probably coming up pretty soon. I want to let you guys go so you can go to one of those. Mikey Sousa for Sheep. Clinton did us in, but back then I was too naive to see his end game. I was lucky, and I'm not going to blame anyone for being naive back then. I just blame people if they're still naive now. But where I'm going with this is, you know, I was listening to Rush Limbaugh back then, and I know there's a lot of negative about Rush Limbaugh, but the one thing he was right about that I will be forever grateful to him for, even back then, the media was not on our side. The media was a tool of the Uniparty. The things that they were sharing and promoting were nothing more than propaganda. He's the one that revealed that to me. And to me, it's only gotten profoundly worse, but I will forever be grateful to him for that. And also for introducing me to the fact that you need to pronounce it Robert Reich. I'll be forever grateful to him for that. Mark Molnikov, I cannot say I'm not paid what I'm worth at the dilithium mines. I'm certain of that. Truth, House of Mark Kapla, NAFTA was the biggest mistake of a deal. Yeah, and I remember Rush again. The media was all about how it would be a good thing, and here's the deal: on paper, it should have been a good thing. You got to remember, I'm mostly libertarian, and libertarians preach that tariffs are bad. But the thing is, we took down our tariffs. And I want to be fair to Canada. I think they did better than Mexico, even though we're kind of hopping up and down now about the milk. I don't think Mexico took down any of their tariffs. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because, again, Ross Perot pointed out perfectly, the situation doesn't stabilize in an unprotected market until that country's workers get closer to what we were getting. And they do get a little bit closer. I think they've gone from $1 a day to nearly $2 a day. So, you know, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. It was good. Gorilla Sense Thoughts. The other sucking sound was a cigar going into Monica's beep. We're laughing. Yes, we are. Mark Monikov, I remember a billboard ad with her saying Democrats left a bad taste in her mouth. Oh, I need to see pics of that. Mike Caesar 4, I read that. Still, it makes me shudder. Firefly and 20. Okay, I need to let you guys go so you can either go to Firefly or to Netters. I'll probably ping pong between the both, but I'll be honest, I love Firefly. I'll mostly be there. So let's call it a stream. Maybe I haven't proven anything, but I hope I've at least reminded people of some things, and I hope that you see through at least some of the media pointlessness. Trump may not be right. I'm not claiming that, but you are hearing a lot of lies and you're being manipulated if you think that this was just this, oh, Trump just came out of nowhere and he just put all those unilateral things. I would suggest no, he didn't. I would suggest that he's probably just giving back what we've been getting ourselves. And unless you can absolutely prove to me that more than 30 of these countries are innocent, I'm not going to listen very much to you. I'm just putting it out there. I'm done with this thing of there's one or two examples of the mistakes that he's made. I don't care. I don't care because anyone would have made those mistakes. Anyone. I would have. But if you can prove to me that 30 countries that he's trying to tariff were totally innocent and not tariffing us at all, then I will take all of this back. Resolute Germ, libertarians are just radical centrists, no better than either side. You're not wrong. I only take that label because it's the closest to what I am, but I also know that it's very dangerous to become an ideologue no matter what, you know. The libertarians aren't right about everything. I do think that they're not right about tariffs. I think that Ross Perot was the one that was right about tariffs. That's just me. And as far as them not being better than either side, I would say, yeah, I hate it, but I think you're right. Because if they were better than either side, maybe they would have gotten more than 1 or 2% of the vote. In some, you know, basically you had Ron Paul, you have Rand Paul. Other than those two, most of the libertarians that are actually run don't impress me that much. The groundswell people do, but remember, Mike Sousa 4 says lies and business practices go hand in hand. Sad but true. Mark Monikov, it's terrifying, isn't it? But and Mike Sousa 4, terrific to rich people. Yeah, at the end of the day, the rich are going to get richer. And again, that's why I don't want to be a business advisor here, but everyone else is panicking, so keep your heads. I'm not saying Trump's the answer, but you are. What you do with your wife and kids and pets and grandkids, that's what's going to make the difference. What Trump is doing may be good, may be bad, but what's going to get us over this isn't going to be him or anything he's doing. It's us. We're the ones that are going to see it through. So, let's get on to everybody. I had a wonderful chat. I always do. Even when I have a terrible stream, I always have a wonderful chat. It's amazing. I love you guys. Okay, here's the jerk that owes me money. If you see him. Anyway. Gorilla Central Thoughts, thank you very much. And everyone who wants to, please go and watch Firefly, probably by now in 10 minutes. Accounting Sheet, please check out this wonderful person and his melodic parodies. He can make some music that will make you laugh, and it's wunderbar. John Ponderero, thank you very much for your the sharing of your streams, your prayers, your advice, your brotherly love. Absolutely love you, brother. And There's a lot of videos you shared today that I wanted to share, but I should have woke up earlier. Screw them all! 1,000% tariffs on everybody. DJ Play Nice, hail and well, man. I believe you're a creator too. I need to check your channel out soon. I thought I had in the past, but I'm having a senior moment. I really need a new brain. Magnetic forces slowing down my brain. Jeff B, thank you very much. Hail and well, Matt. Thanks for the thoughtful comments. Fluff Chick Productions, otherwise known as Connie Cleary. Please check out her channel. If you need to zen out for a bit, just play some of those videos of them birds. Or she also has crafty videos where she shares how she makes certain decorations and things. Very clever. I would, you give me some construction paper and scissors, I just end up with a hospital visit. She ends up with incredible holiday decorations. CODIS Fact Search, one of the most well-read people, probably the most well-read person I know. One of the most intelligent, or the most intelligent when it comes to history. I keep trying to kind of coax him back into creating things, but I also understand where he's been burnt before, so I get that. Love you, brother. I hope you are doing well. And we have Mikey Susie 4. Love you as well, brother. He does lots of reviews. He is often the guest host on Charlotte Nightstar, the Werewolves watch parties. Does all kinds of things. Incredible, supportive human being. Thank you so much for your prayers and your kindness. And thank you for your kindness to Charlotte. I know it is well appreciated. I know there's at least one more person, if not two. So many wonderful people. Jason Jones. For some reason, I'm wanting to make a Alex Jones joke, but I won't. I respect you too much. Thank you so much. God bless you. Another wonderful brother here. I've known this person for about 30 years. What we really probably ought to do is get rid of all the politicians and make either Jason or CODIS Fact Search president and the other one vice president. And we would either end up with a great golden age, or it would all go down the toilet, but we would have fun as we flushed everything down. Doobie-doo. Jason has helped me through some pretty hard times. That's why I've rewarded him by being a jerk. Ha! Resolute Germ, hail and well, man. Another wonderful creator. Please check out his watch parties. I need to get, I'm going to do that right after this stream. I'm going to touch base with you about when I can do a watch party with you on a Saturday. So check out his Saturday morning cartoons. They are so fun. Doobie-doo, Sci-Fi Sith Dan, lots of science fiction-y fan films galore. Check out this wonderful gentleman. He will entertain you. Not the same way strippers entertain you, but he will entertain you. LDG Free the Net, developing an app that will free us from the electronic overlords. We are entering a new age. We can either go down the road of serfdom, or we can go down the road of freedom. Please choose freedom and check out Free the Net. I think it's .org. .com.org. All right, who else? Mark Malnikov, Kaplan, another wonderful creator. Check out his channel. You will be Klingonified. We don't do tariffs. We just take over your planet. And to quote my friend Stacy Jones, first take planet, then take spot. Cheers, tariff to the rich. Please like, share, subscribe. 264 people needed to be 1,000. Thank you so much. And Mikey Susie 4 is growing as well. Please, if you haven't already subbed to him, please do. Wonderful human being. In fact, I would love it if every one of you would sub to every one of you. Just to be confusing. Remember one of the Ferengi rules of acquisitions. War is good for business. It is. I used to have that book. God bless you, bro. Mikey Susie 4 says, courtesy to everyone here in our illustrious chat tonight. And howdy, Lemon Pie. He's coming in at the end, but you are so welcome. I'm glad you were here, even if it's just for the last minute or two. I have two of the great wrenches online here. We have Lemon Pie and we have Connie Cleary. So all is right with the world. I've shortened down my shtick at the end of the show, but I just want you to know it's been said that life is pain. Anyone trying to tell you otherwise is trying to sell you something. And that's true. I am trying to sell you something. I'm trying to sell you on the idea that you are smart enough and virtuous enough to run your own life. You don't need big governments or big corporations to tell you what to do, how to think, what to drive, what job to have. And lastly of all, I want you to know you're not going crazy. You're going sane in a world gone mad. Spoon! I love all of you guys. See you soon. Hopefully watching Firefly or Netter. Either one. Have a wonderful evening.